West Cork Beard Company make beard oil and beard balm for a strong, healthy, great-looking beard. Handmade from all natural ingredients in Clonakilty, West Cork. Check out their YouTube channel for beard care tips and advice, or catch them online at westcorkbeardcompany.ie.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast episodes. I haven't a clue. Lost count many years ago. How are you all? Good evening to you all in the chat box. Lovely to see you here already. So many of you here already. Good evening to you, or afternoon or morning if you're listening to this back on Spotify. And hello to you if you're watching this back on replay. I hope you're all well. Hope you've all had a good week. Hope you're not too sad over what's happening at the moment. But tonight we're going to try and bring you a bit of therapy like we normally do on a Monday evening. And hopefully by the end of the podcast, we'll all feel a bit better about it. So we'll get on to introducing the guests. Tony, how are you, sir?
Good evening, mate. Good evening. Long time no see, long time no speak.
It's been a long time. I said to myself, who can I get? Because Dan's out, Mark's out, Graham's out, Harry's out. So I said, who can I get to bounce off Mr. Judges? Oh, I know, fella.
I'd like to bounce him.
Judges, how are you getting on?
I used to bounce him on my knee. That's like, you know what I mean, once upon a time, you know.
It's a bit of a family affair this evening, isn't it?
I wouldn't want to do it now, like, you know what I mean? Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? But
are you all right?
Yeah, all good. Good. Well, more importantly, how are you? How's your knee? You know,
it's all right. It's still there. It's pretty bruised.
Yeah. Been worried about you.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah, all the text messages that I've had all weekend. Yeah, we're very, very worried about me. It's in a brace. The brace is not on at the moment though because it's pissing me off. But you did say I didn't have to wear it all day. So I've taken it off just for this so I can be comfortable sitting here. Otherwise the computer would be way over there because of my legs sticking out. But no, I'm all right. It hurts. I've just taken some painkillers. So if I fall asleep halfway through this,
you probably will.
You'll know why.
Talking, you know what I mean? So
what's that?
With me and So talking, you probably will, like, you know. So.
Gentlemen, let's get into it. Tony, we'll start with you. It's been a poor year, as I was just about to say. It's been a poor week. It's been a poor year. It's been a really strange season. We were just talking off air about it a little bit, about how the season's been. It's been so weird with the corona going on and no fans being allowed in the ground and this, that and the other. It's been very, very strange. Obviously, didn't get the result we wanted against Villarreal on last Thursday night. And then, of course, we come and we beat West Brom, which we should have done. We should be beating teams like that. No disrespect to West Brom, but we should be beating teams like that. Tony, where now? Where do we go now? 3 games left. Chelsea, Palace, Brighton. What next? 3 dead rubbers, aren't they? I mean,
they are to
Chelsea. Well, they are to an extent. It's still. I mean, I know Lee will probably fall off his chair now, but do we go for this Europa Conference thing or whatever it is? We can still qualify for that, I believe. I don't think we're coming up to a Chelsea game where I'm like, I'm normally like, oh, Chelsea, can't fucking bring it on, but I'm just, I'll watch it, but yeah.
It is what it is, mate. You'll watch it because it's your team, but ultimately the season's been a bit of a shit show from start to finish. From top to bottom, the club just appeared to be in a mess. Thursday was to a certain extent how I expected it to go to some regard because when you look, football's winning and losing is part of the game. It's part of any sport we do. We accept that. We may not like losing, but it's part of the sport. What we can't accept is going out with such a whimper constantly. We've been going out with a whimper for probably the last decade. This is nothing new. This is being ongoing and steadily declining season upon season. So it's the fact that, like I said at the beginning of the season with Arteta, all I wanted him to do was improve us slightly. show signs of progression, and give us a clear identity with how we wanted to play. That's all I expected this season. That's all I asked from his full season. If it meant us finishing 6th or 7th, fine, I would have took it. But I just don't see in their performances, in the identity, in the progression. You know, I've backed him from the very start. But the last 3 or 4 weeks, I'm really questioning whether he's the man. And I'm siding with the fact that I don't think he is anymore. Maybe the inexperience is catching up with him. Maybe, again, I know Lee doesn't always want to hear it, but I don't think the players help. But then saying that Arteta's, some of the decisions he's made just are not good enough. It's baffling. Where do we go from here? I don't know. Someone said yesterday we either back him or sack him. But then do you trust the directors with the money available in the summer? Collectively, I just think we're in a mess. And I think we need a real experienced old head somewhere along the lines to steer us out of these choppy waters, mate. Because if something doesn't get rectified and quick, we could be in for another shit show of a season next year.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, so, hard to disagree, and I'm with you on that. I know you listen and watch the podcast. I've backed him all year, but I'm with you now. The last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm starting to come down off the fence. I said at the end of the season that it was Judgment Day, and I don't think it is the end of the season when we got knocked out of the Europa League. It's the end of the season. I said I'd judge him at the end of the season, and unfortunately, I don't think he's the man. I don't.
No.
But I think that I don't think he's going to get sacked. That's the thing. I don't think he'll get the sack. I think he'll be here next year.
No, well, that's up to the powers that be to do that, isn't it? But listen, you've backed him, and there's nothing wrong in doing that. Tony's the same. Tony's been very vocal on Arteta in our groups and things, and we've had chats and all that like. And I've wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and all that. And look, listen, people turn around now and say, "Oh, it's through the pandemic. We've not had a pre-season and all that." I get that, but there's some things that you just can't defend no more. And I'll say this, the continuation to play Bellerin. 4 games Chambers has played, done okay in those 4 games. I don't think he's done that bad. And all of a sudden, like Bellerin comes in against Newcastle, wasn't our best player in the game against Newcastle. I don't think really justified coming back into the team, but comes back into the team. It's nothing to do with experience and a pandemic. The substitutions that he's making, 10 minutes to go or whatever it was, we need a goal. He takes Aubameyang and puts Willian on. And then with a minute to go, puts Eddie on. Just little things like that. Playing Partey in midfield on his own. Playing a false 9 in a semi-final for the first time. That's nothing to do with a pandemic, nothing to do with not having a pre-season. That's just crap managing.
Yeah.
Perhaps team selections. And it's starting to happen. The continuation to keep playing Bellerin, swapping and changing the positions. And what made it even worse was Sunday for me, because everybody had been saying for the last few weeks, play Martinelli, play Saka at left back. He had the opportunity. It was like the gods come down to him and said to him, "We love you, Mikel. We love you. I'm going to injure Xhaka for you, so you make that decision and you go through in this competition." So he didn't. He went and put Tierney there, What he should have done was played Saka in there, got Martinelli into the side. The continuation not to play Martinelli is unbelievable. He has given so many opportunities to someone like Eddie, but not to Martinelli. Those sort of things are nothing to do with a pandemic, nothing to do with not having a pre-season. It's just poor managing, poor whatever. And I'm sorry, I've turned around and someone corrected me when they said about experience, and I do believe that he's not experienced enough, and that's not his fault. But there are times when you look at it and think, well, do you really need to be experienced to know that Granit Xhaka's not working in there, not to play a false 9? To not play a false 9, guys. To play a false 9 in ultimately what was our our biggest game of the season is criminal. And I look at the 2 semi-finals, legs. We never turned up in any of them. We didn't play in any of them. And I'm talking to one of my Spurs colleagues. I don't call them mates, colleagues. When they went out against that team from Croatia, their goalkeeper made unbelievable saves. There was like it was hanging on the edge of your seat sort of stuff. With us, the goalkeeper did not make a save all night. Where was the tactics? What were they, and what was they going on there like? Just a poor show. And for me now, whether he stays or not, I won't be backing him next season if he stays. You know what I mean? Like the first time he makes a mistake, I'm going to be on him because at the end, I don't think he deserves to be in the.
Lee, can I just ask for all of these faults and flaws, and I know you think I back him quite a lot. Do you not think that our decline has also coincided with a lack of leaders and captains at the club? Because let's be honest, since Fabregas went, and although he wasn't necessarily a great captain, his performances, he at least performed week in, week out. But since then, none of our captains have really performed. We just give it to our best players to try and please them, keep them there for another couple of years, sign a new contract. We lack so much. And now, I'm not defending him, by the way. I'm just saying, when you look at the mess we're in, there comes a time when we've got to sort out the culture. And Arteta's interview at the start of his reign was brilliant. We've got to sort out the culture and the mentality of this club, which is fine saying that. He obviously hasn't helped the situation, but without captains and without leaders, that's something else that's got to be addressed as well. It doesn't matter who we come in without those, and this is what I say, we're in a mess collectively. And as much as Arteta has made mistakes and has got his faults and flaws, I don't think these players as well help the situation. It's not like they can dig him out of a hole. They just sort of down tools and, they've done it with him, they've done it with Emery, and they've done it with Wenger at the end of his tenure.
Just to come on Tony's point there, like I was going to say to you, Lee, we saw no effort against Villarreal, and awful performance, and then against West Brom yesterday, it weren't great either, was it? It wasn't.
You could look at it two ways, and I'm not sticking up for the players on it by anything like. They're being stifled by his tactics and the way that he's going about things. You have to look at things also. I agree with what Tony's saying about leaders. When you got Rob Holding leading your side out, or Hector Bellerin, come on, like like I'm used to captains when I've watched Arsenal and played with captains. Not necessarily be the best player in the team, but someone that you will follow and lead. You know what I mean? Like, Hector Bellerin said, right, let's get over the trenches. I'm staying where I am, like, with my old cup of soup, and I ain't moving, like, Hector. Go and get over there and see what you can do. But I'm not going to follow him, and that's the thing. But with Arteta, I look at it, the signings that he's made. I think that I'm going to be honest. I think, probably our two biggest leaders weren't in that game, and I mean that by David Luiz, which was a big blow losing him against Newcastle, not just for his leadership, but for passing ability because he can pass. I think that was a big blow. And obviously losing Granit Xhaka in the warm-up wasn't great. But ultimately, he still had options there. Like he signed Gabriel, okay, for a lot of money. Biggest game of the season, he's not playing. He signed Willian, biggest wages of it all, like, isn't playing. There's things like that now. You've got to just ask sort of questions on that. Cedric, he signed Cedric, didn't play him. And I also think that this culture still comes down to the goalkeeping decision at the beginning of the season. Now, I'm not saying Leno is a better goalkeeper or Martinez is a better goalkeeper. What I'm saying is that there's that thing of like, earn your place, wait for your opportunity, and when you get it, take it. Well, Martinez done that, and then was giving it away again. And I still think that was a bad, like, if I was a player, I'm thinking, cool, look, he's waited all that time, and it, got in and been superb, and then been dropped. So they're the sort of things that I'll say about Mikel. And somebody said to me over the weekend, which was a great point, on Thursday, if Mikel's man management skills were a lot better. And I think this is a difference between coaching and being a manager. I think he's a good coach, but you've also, when you're the coach, you've got or the main one, you've got to man manage. Guendouzi, for instance, would have been a key player for us in that game, but because of bad management or whatever, he ain't there for that game. So there's all those sort of things that are in there, and I think we've been a little bit unlucky with injuries, but in saying that, I think with that team and what I look at it, we should still be beating teams like Villarreal. I do believe that.
Especially when they've just got beaten at home at the weekend 4-1 by Celta Vigo.
Yeah, no, honestly, I watched Chelsea versus Real Madrid the other night, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's the worst Real Madrid team I've seen for a very, very long while. And they're third in the league, second and third in the league, and Villarreal are eighth or ninth. You know, so there you go. That answers it all, really, doesn't it? Like, you know, so
for all
poor season,
for all the poor season as well, and like we said, the mistakes that players and managers have made. You know, our finishing, we just haven't been ruthless enough this year.
Oh yeah.
If Aubameyang's on form, or we take our chances more. It's obviously a different season now. I'm not sticking up for Arteta and I'm not sticking up for the team. But the mistakes, it's been more. I mean, attacking wise, I think we've been poor. And in front of goal, we've just, whether it's a lack of confidence. I mean, even Wednesday, you've got Smith Rowe there who's trying to bend it top corner. I think he should hit the target. Aubameyang's volley in the first half, okay, it's a good effort. His header, I think he should be scoring that. Me personally, I think Rob Holding's had a good chance with a header as well. We're missing so many chances, which, again, I don't know how we correct that, because we're not going to make wholesale changes in the summer.
Do you think that's down to a lack of confidence, or is it just that we've been bang unlucky? No,
I think you can't make that an excuse. I think you've got to make your own luck in football. You can obviously be unlucky at times, but for it to happen, for the majority of the season, that's not unlucky. That's down to you. I think that's where players have got to stand up and be accounted for. One thing I do not like about this current Arsenal team is we have far too many people to talk the talk but can't walk the walk. Every week we've got a Bellerin or a Leno or an Aubameyang or a Lacazette or X, Y, and Z coming out and talking a good game. And you think, right, maybe they've learnt this week. They go out the following week to the next game and it's exactly the same. Sometimes keep your mouth shut, let your feet do the talking, and play for the badge. And that's something we haven't got enough of. I mean, these last 4 games, Craig, as you alluded to, I think they are quite important, or they were important in my eyes, because I thought it was a great chance to experiment. Give the younger players a chance, because the likes of Ceballos and Willian ain't going to be here next year, or it's very highly unlikely they're not going to be here. So do you know what? Give the players who are going to be the future. Give a Nilsson another chance. Give Aziz a chance. Give Balogun a chance. All these other players have had chances, but as a core group of youngsters, I think, do you know what? Experiment. Give them the game experience and minutes now, ahead of next season, ahead of pre-season, ahead of next season. Yeah. Because in the next 10 years, potentially, they're going to be our main players for the next decade. So give them the minutes. Why persist with Ceballos and William? They've not offered us nothing all season.
I said the same thing yesterday when I saw the team news, and I was quickly corrected by a good number of people that Balogun and Aziz had played under 23s. Yeah, they played the night before, so obviously, we can't be. Really
they needed to not lose to stay up, didn't they?
That's right. So they had all their, every single good player that they had. They put them on the pitch. I didn't realise that was the night before. So no, I didn't either. So I was on Twitter shouting and roaring.
I thought it was at the back end of the week. I didn't realise.
No, I was on Twitter shouting and roaring about. I know the same as you, Tony. Where's Balogun? Where's Aziz? Where's the goalkeeper? I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. Well, give him a game. Why not? Because it looks like Leno might. Pardon?
Did they win?
2-2. I think they were 2-0 down.
Yeah, they drew and they stayed up. Yeah.
No. Well, that just shows, isn't it? So.
Well, it just makes me. I don't know. It's just,
Wednesday and the following week now. Then there's no excuse now, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd love to see Balogun and Aziz against Chelsea on Wednesday night. I really would. I really, really would.
Just something.
It's the Champions League final at the weekend, isn't it? Or is that next weekend?
FA Cup this weekend.
Oh, FA Cup this weekend. So I mean, they've got some choices to make as well, whether about who they're going to play and who they want to keep fit.
It's time to be playing Chelsea, isn't it? Good time to be playing Chelsea.
I think so. Well, I mean, like Tony said, I just think it's like I said at the start, it's a meh game for me. I'll watch it, like Tony says, because it's my team. But would I rather see Balogun, Aziz, the young goalkeeper that's just started training with us? Would I much rather players like that against Chelsea? Yes, I would. I would for the rest of the season anyway. Why not?
Just something you can get behind and potentially get excited about.
Exactly.
We've had a bit of an
we need something. Yeah. Lee, I'll come to you with this one first. Being out of Europe, like Tony mentioned there, that there's a lot of things that we need to do in the summer, including, I don't know, sacking coaches, bringing in more coaches. I mean, I just read just before we come on now, I see that Arsenal have brought in a company to employ some scouts. One in Germany for youth, looking for youth players in Germany, and then another one in Germany looking for senior players. One for the UK, one for France, and one for Spain. But they still are using this bloody stat DNA thing that I cannot stand. That has cost us Kante and cost us Van Dijk, that bloody stat DNA. So I'm glad
Do you not think that comes down to obviously the experience? When you're looking, we've got to bring in a company to do our work for us rather than hiring the correct people.
Yeah, but I get that. That's a very good point. But from what I'm reading in the report, Nolan Partners, they're called, are apparently the biggest recruitment company for sports and entertainment people use to bring in their staff. So again, we're going to have to just sit back and wait and see what happens. But that is to me that's a positive step that we're actually bringing in. You know, I mean, because wasn't it a couple of years ago we got rid of them all, didn't we? And they were going with this stat DNA. Do you know? So I've gone off topic a bit, Lee. I'll come back to it. Being out of Europe, is there any advantage to us?
Listen,
for being out of Europe next year?
People compare it with Chelsea. When Chelsea went out of Europe, they went and spent loads of money in the summer and made sure that they was going to be, whatever happened, by hook or by crook, they was going to be in the top 4 or whatever the next season. They actually went on and won it. Don't think that's going to happen with us if we don't back whoever it is in charge. Is it good that Arsenal are out of Europe? When people turn around and go, "Oh yeah, it's going to be," no, it's not. You know, we need to be in Europe. You know, I think one, it develops the younger players to play in, get some Champions League football, not Champions League, Europa League football, give them a bit of first team experience, and it's also a chance of getting into Europe. You know, the Champions League. Instead of going through the top 4, to get to the Champions League in the top 4 is going to be very difficult. Man City, Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool. You know, it's going to be very, very hard to break that. When you're playing Villarreal and Sparta Prague, wherever it is, like, you know, and to get to the Champions League, it's going to be the Europa League. Mind you, the Europa League ain't going to be easy with Juventus in there this time around. So you know, it's not going to be easy. Look at Juventus. You know, talk about them. What a powerhouse they've been in. They put a novice of a manager in there, and look what's happened to them. So, you know, and they've got good players, by the way. You know, so I do think it does come down to the manager, certain amount of times. Listen, Arsenal not being in Europe, you know, a lot of fans are not going to. They're going to never experience this.
Yeah, true.
I've not been in Europe, like, you know. Like, fortunately for myself, unfortunately, I have done. You know, I know what it's like. But we've got to deal with it. What I would say is it makes us favourites for the League Cup. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to be playing their squads. It's only going to, you know, we'll be playing our full team, won't we? You know, because you know, he can't be. This is the trouble now with the young players. I look at Bellingham, for instance. Where's he going to get his games next season? He can't play them in the League Cup, because I'll tell you what, if they start playing squad players in the League Cup and the FA Cup and throwing them away like they did last year, when we've only got like so many games, it's not going to be great, is it? So where's he going to get his games? He's going to have to go on loan now, because he would have got a lot of games and a lot of rotation during the Europa League. So it's not going to be really good, like, for us. I don't care what anybody says. But the reason we're not in Europe is because we don't deserve to be in it. Simple as that. Simple as that.
There's no getting away from that fact. Tony, how do you feel about Arsenal not being in Europe next year?
Yeah, just reiterating what Lee said, it ain't a good thing to be in. Again, both on and off the pitch, in terms of you want to be playing in European competitions, and also the finances, whether people like it or not. Football clubs are a business, and we're a self-sustaining model. We can't rely on staying cronky. You know, if this was, I alluded to this a little while ago, a couple of months ago. If we had an owner that had a vested interest in Arsenal Football Club, that cared about the well-being and the long-term future of Arsenal Football Club, a year out of Europe wouldn't bother me, because I think, you know, But we're not of the same. You know, we haven't got an Abramovich who cares about the club, who's going to invest heavily, who's going to recruit right, who's going to bring in experience. You know, he's got that ruthlessness to win. We haven't got that. So I think it is a bit of a worry. And I do worry that if we don't get back into Europe next season, having 2 years out of Europe will be so detrimental to our long-term success and future. And I think that we could, I mean, we're being left behind as it is. We're a couple of years out of Europe, we'll just fall further and further into mediocrity. And I think we would really, really struggle to get back into that top four, you know, break the monopoly of, you know, you look at Man City, Man United will be there next season. I think Chelsea are going to run Man City close next year. And you would expect Liverpool to come back all guns blazing, you know, with a crowd behind them. So like Lee says, if you're going to put some money in, you're pretty much certain that those 4 teams are going to be in Europe. And then obviously you're fighting to be best of the rest with your Tottenhams, your Evertons, obviously us, West Ham, if they continue, which I don't think they will. I think they're having a tremendous season, but I can't see that lasting. But yeah, we've got to pick ourselves up. We can't sit around and wait and hope for the best. You know, this summer's huge. Before everything happened in the last couple of weeks, this summer is huge for us. And the biggest and most important thing is recruitment.
Yep.
Because we've got a group of youngsters now that could lead this club forward for the next 10 years. We have to sign and recruit right and put experienced players in and around those youngsters. Let the young players do their job, but get experience. I think we need powerful players. We've lacked pace and power the last few years. If we can sign players with pace, power, and experience to slot in and around those youngsters, we could be all right. The future could be really, really bright. But that comes down to recruitment. And unfortunately, probably last year we've had some good players. In all fairness, good squad players as well. But over the last decade on the whole, recruitment hasn't been great.
It's been awful.
So would you put your mortgage on us to get it right this summer? No. I probably wouldn't.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Tony, you hit the nail on the head there brilliantly, mate. Like, it is a myth that we haven't spent money, Lee. It's a myth. It's a massive myth because we have. But we've just, like Tony says, we've spent it on rubbish. I mean, I go back to the Stat DNA thing. We signed Mustafi instead of Van Dijk. We signed Xhaka instead of Kante. You know, I mean, it's just waste of money, isn't it? Do you know? So when people come to me, they're always coming to me and saying, "Oh, you know, we need to spend money. We need to spend money." But my argument has always been that we have spent money, but just poorly. And Tony hits the nail on the head. This brings me on to the next point of the players that we're reportedly getting rid of next year. Leno, I think, is itching to get out of the club. Bellerin, Torreira, Guendouzi, Maitland-Niles, and Klosniak are the only names reported at the moment who want to leave the club or the club are looking to sell. Names not in there. Lacazette, Willian, El Neni, Nelson, Willock and Nikita.
Well, it's ridiculous.
Do you know? That comes from... sorry, I just want to give Tom Canton credit for that. Because that's from Tom Canton's report. You can read his report on 101goals.com. Go over to Tom Canton Media and have a look at the report for yourself. So I just want to give Tom a call for that.
But not mentioning Eddie and Lacazette is not a good night, you know. Listen, this is what I say about recruitment. Like, I don't know what's gone on with the Leno situation. It must be a new contract there. But if Leno... What has made a difference within a year that he wants to get out? If it is the case, why didn't they get rid of him last season? It doesn't make sense, you know what I mean, from that point of view.
As a goalkeeper, I could say that he might want out because he's had enough of the shit defending, and he's had enough of having to play with different sets of defenders every week.
People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, Craig. He's made mistakes himself when he's part of the You know, if he was squeaky clean, you go, do you know what? Yeah, you've backed us, you've kept in goal, clean sheets, and you've not been at fault for any. But he's just as much to blame as the defence. Yeah. You know, get your own house in order before you start blaming others. And like I said, a lot of these players are accountable for the mess we're in. This is not one person's mistake. This is a collective issue. And if I was Arsenal players, I'd be damn doing my hardest to make sure I rectify that next season rather than just, you know, going out with a whimper.
I mean, Scully brings in a question here. What do you think? I haven't read these reports, actually. I don't know if you two have. What do you guys think about reports on senior players blaming the youngsters for poor form this season? I mean, if that's true, goodness me. I'd like to know who that was because I don't think any senior player any senior player has warranted having a go at any of the youth players this year.
Well, listen, the youth players have carried us this season. End of so I don't really go along with that. And if someone has come out and say that, they need their arse slapped. You know what I mean? As simple as that. I don't agree with that. I think with the Leno situation, if it is absolutely true and that has come out, what's he in goal for at this moment in time? Get Ryan in there, get him experience, and say to him, look, there's a chance for you to play at this football club, long term. The other side of it is, and I don't know if I actually believe this with Leno, maybe he's trying to force a better contract and all that. What club would have him? And I mean, big club would have him. Munich in Germany, no. I don't think there's any, seems... So I'm not so sure about it. I think maybe he's just, agents are trying to push for a contract or something. I agree that he hasn't had much in front of him at times, and that's something that we've got to address. Again, man management. Again from Mikel Arteta. Why hasn't Saliba been given a chance? When I look at the chances that certain other central defenders have had in the team, so we may be, I think, defensively better if we can get in a right back, and we got Saliba, Gabriel, but. I'd still like Arsenal to maybe keep David Luiz for another season, just for the experience side of things. We've got 2 or 3 decent sort of left-sided defenders. We've got on the right-hand side, it's as weak as anything. And normally in football, it's the other way round. So, we've got to recruit there. And as I say, I think that, this summer, as you say, the club have spent money, £45 million on Partey. Mind you, he's not worth £45 million, by the way. So
I have. Can I come? I have my thoughts about that signing. I think it's the easiest signing that Arsenal Football Club have ever made, and I'll tell you why. It was go over there, 45 million. They can't say no. He can't say no, and as long as we give him enough money, he was always going to come. So it was the easiest signing ever.
I'm not sure, Craig, about that easy signing. We still haggled and took weeks and weeks to get it over the line. We could have got that done and dusted weeks before he actually signed, and he would have been a couple of weeks ahead in terms of fitness and progression into the team. And we still haggled until we realised, unless we pay that release clause, we ain't getting him no other way. And in the end, Arsenal begrudgingly, I think, had to pay it. But
I mean, imagine trying to bargain over a £45 million release clause for him. I mean. That just goes to show you everything, doesn't it? Do you know?
The other thing is now that I see that a WAR thing has come back up today, isn't it? 30 million when we was looking to play 60 million for him last summer.
Yeah.
So I think that with the Partey one, I know they messed about a bit a little bit, but I think that they tried to sign that a WAR. And they couldn't get a deal done in the end. And, if Arsenal go back this season and get him for 30 million, I would turn around and go, do you know what? It was worth waiting a year. And that's probably why Odegaard's on loan for us at this moment in time, to just see us through until we get him. So it'd be interesting. I think it'd be an interesting summer to see what happens. I expect a lot of activity coming through the door, and we're going to have to be like a revolving door, wouldn't it? Like loads going out and loads coming in, So it'd be interesting to see which ones were coming in and which ones.
Would you boys target a centre back, a main centre back next year, or would you go? Do you know what? We've got left-sided cover. We're going to go with Saliba next season.
Yeah, I think Saliba definitely comes back into this team next season.
As first choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mikel Arteta done. A lot of people gave Mikel Arteta stick for sending Saliba back to France, but I actually think it was the best thing he did with the player.
Yeah,
he came over, and then unfortunately he had a lot of personal problems. His mum passed away. This, that, and the other. That's going to affect a footballer of that age big time. It's going to affect any footballer, but especially of course. And him being away from France and being very young, and he didn't want to be here. He wanted to be in France. He wanted to be in France closer to his family and things like that. So sending him back, I think, was a good thing. Instead of just keeping him here and giving him bit part minutes in games that really didn't mean much, sending him out and having him on loan has been a really, really good choice. And we're all reading the reports about how highly spoken of he is over there all of a sudden again, So I think we bring him in, and I think we bring him back, and we put him straight in alongside Gabriel for me, and we go from there.
I think sending Guendouzi was a good thing as well, because Guendouzi, for all his tenaciousness, enthusiasm, ability, he's got a massive chip on his shoulder.
Yes.
Now, he's had a little bit of trouble at his loan club. Is it Hertha Berlin?
Hertha Berlin.
He had a row with a captain or something. But this week could make or break Matteo Guendouzi's footballing career, because he's got everything in his locker for me to go on to reach the very top. I think he could potentially be that good. He's just had a kid. Now, I'm really hoping that the chip comes off his shoulder, the attitude
grow up
goes,
very
and the
quickly.
egos go, and all of a sudden you've got this mature player. Now, we done something similar with Szczesny a few years ago, and we thought, we'll loan him out, we'll get rid of that immaturity and all that. He matured, and then we sold him.
Yeah.
What's the point in loaning him? These are examples. Saliba, Guendouzi. Now, Guendouzi's a question mark because it all depends on his attitude. But we've potentially got Guendouzi, Saliba, and Willock who have benefited from the loan system so well, and that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
They could be the mainstay of Arsenal, like I say, for along with these youngsters for 5-10 years. And this is what it's got to be used for. But don't send them out on loan, gain the experience, and then either send them on loan again or sell them, because it's pointless. Now they've earned their stripes. They've earned the right to play. Give them the opportunity. Now make them say, look, there's a path to the first team squad. It's yours if you want it. It's all up to you now.
Yeah, Lee. Tony mentions a player there that who I love, and I'd love to see him come back to Arsenal, and that is, of course, Szczesny. A lot of people, I put it out on Twitter, that I'd love to see him back, and straight away a deluge of people. Oh, he's rubbish. He's this, he's that, and this, that, and the other. Now, I would just like to quickly remind people that this goalkeeper, this boy, who's supposedly rubbish, he's not a boy anymore, is he? He's 20, 28 now, I think.
31.
Is he 31? Bloody hell! Well, that's prime. That's prime goalkeeper. This lad went over to Roma and got Alisson out of the goal, who is now supposedly the world's best goalkeeper, playing for Liverpool, and also went to Juventus and went to Juventus on Buffon his say. He told the Juventus people to go and get him. And here he is playing for Juventus. He's won Champions League. He's done this, that, and the other. Why not bring him back? It's a massive yes for me. Would you take him back?
Listen, I'm going to be really honest with you. I haven't seen enough Juventus games to say yes, that he's improved or whatever, and why Juventus letting him go would be one thing if that's the case. But
because they're getting Donnarumma in for free. And he's played about 400 games and he's about 20 years old.
And they're going down into the Europa League.
So if that's what they want to do, I would look at. I wouldn't say no, but we've got to. If Leno's going to go, we're going to have to go looking for a goalkeeper. And I think that I don't want to come in looking cheap. Neither,
we'll have to go looking for two because Matt Ryan's only on loan.
If you could sign Szczesny and Matt Ryan,
the West Brom goalkeeper.
The West Brom goalkeeper.
Yeah, very impressed with him. So, but again, you don't really know because when you're playing at West Brom, you're being busy all the time. So that's something that we could look at. Szczesny, I wouldn't be against it. I'll never turn around and say, "Oh no, I'm not having that," because I think that when he went to Italy, as Tony said, he matured and become a much better goalkeeper than when he left, and then we sold him for pittance. Now, we might have a little cheeky little buyback clause in there. Who knows? I don't know. So, but I wouldn't be, if Leno wants to go, I've got no problems in saying, right, off you trot.
I haven't either, because if you don't want to play it, then go.
You know what I mean?
I don't care how good you are. If you don't want to,
boys, do you know what though as well? If you could get 30 million for Leno now, and you could sign Szczesny on a free and Matt Ryan for 2 or 3 million or a free, whatever it is. I spoke about being shrewd in the transfer market. Now, if we could get 30 million for Leno, buy 2 keepers for nothing, and use that 30 million to strengthen other key areas like a right back, defensive midfielder, centre midfielder, we've got to look at that. And I know people turn their nose up, but the snobbering Arsenal fan base is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Don't want to sign this one. Don't want to. I mean, Lee, we speak to obviously Dobbsy in the group, Northern Irish boy, been going on about Johnny Evans for years. We've always laughed a bit at him. We've always mocked it. But 3 million for him 2 or 3 years ago was an absolute no-brainer when we needed him, an experienced player at the back, and instead we've had a few donkeys. Sometimes we've got to stop turning our nose up at certain players. We need to look at what they can offer us rather than just going on because if they're a household name or not. Now, like I said, we've got to be shrewd in the transfer market. And if we can get 30 million for Leno, bring in Chesney and Ryan for freebie, that covers that area, which means we can focus on other more important issues on the sort of across the park.
I mean, Lee, Tony's speaking brilliant there about being shrewd in the transfer market and kind of only spending money that we can make. Do you believe what the Cronkies have come out and said during the week, that Mikel Arteta is going to be backed? They're going to prove to us that they deserve to be owners of Arsenal, that they are the right fit for Arsenal. How many times have we heard this? 2 years ago, it was Josh Kroenke telling us to be excited. 2 years down the line,
renewal time, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is it, Tony. That's what I was just about to say. It is season ticket renewal time. He told us to be excited. 2 years later, we're still not excited, and they're promising us that they're the right people for this club. What do you say about that?
Well, exactly that. How can you trust someone that don't tell you the truth all the time? It don't matter who it is, whether it be an owner of a football club, your bird, or your mum and dad. You know what I mean? My mum, my mum and dad told me there was Father Christmas for a long time. You know what I mean? Out of order. You know what I mean? So at the end of it, you have to look at this Kroenke. He told us to be excited, right? Well, excited about what? Excited they're not playing in Europe? What have an Arsenal fans got to be excited about? Because they haven't. So words, mean nothing. Action speaks louder than words. Get your money out and back the club and do the right thing. You know what I mean? And go and get the players. Now, again, we did turn around and say we did. They did go out there. They bought Gabriel last season. They spent a lot of money on Willian for wages. They actually, went and bought Partey. So you've got to look at it and go, well, hold on a minute. They didn't do too bad there, if you be honest. But they've got to do that again and again. I honestly think if you realistically want Arsenal to be back challenging, I'm not saying the title, challenging for top four, you're looking at 250 million pounds to be invested.
Plus the money we make from sales.
Yeah, so it's going to be a real thing. But if you could say, like, for instance, and I'm not saying, I'm just going to throw a couple of names out here. You can sign Haaland at Dortmund, and I don't know, Jack Grealish at Aston Villa, somebody like that. Just for instance, like there's 150 million already, right? But then you sign a couple of get rid of a couple of players, and all of a sudden you think, oh, you are a player. Well, I ain't got Europe, but hold on a minute. Arsenal just signed 2 massive players. Have done this and done that. I think someone said to me the other day. Now, don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but Arsenal signed Dennis Bergkamp with no European football, and I don't know if that's true or not. Like, I'm not 100% sure of that, but it was a massive statement. Dennis Bergkamp coming to the club. And it's a domino effect, you know what I mean? Now, I don't quote me on that thing about Europe. So
Lee, he got us into Europe at the end of that year with that goal against Bolton. Do you remember?
That's right.
Yeah, he got us into Europe.
The year before.
No, we wasn't. We'd had, I think, a year out of Europe, and he scored that goal.
Right. So
last game of the season against Bolton, top corner.
Right. So there you go. So it can be done. It can, but you know what? You had someone like David Dean who weren't going to put up with the rubbish. I think we had a bad year under George Graham, so it was about right. I think we was right down the bottom half of the table, so it is right, So we're in probably the same sort of situation then as we are now, and we signed Dennis Bergkamp. So we need a big statement from the board, and then a big player to come in,
Tony, do you think those 3 players that you mentioned, we're talking about, so we're kind of going backwards and forth, talking about spending big money and the players that we'd like to see come in. I mean, there's 2 players there that Lee's mentioned who I think we have no chance of signing because of not having any European football. It's all right to have the money to pay for them and to pay for their wages. But does the player want to come to a club where he's not playing European football? And, the Willock, the Guendouzi's, the Saliba, are they players that you think deserve to be Arsenal players next season?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of Willock. I know he's probably not going to reach the heights of potentially Saka, maybe, but I still think he's got a lot to offer. I still think he's got a lot of potential. I think we need to try and unlock his potential, find his best position. I think Saliba's got, again, all the ingredients to succeed. And Guendouzi, well, it's down to Guendouzi whether he succeeds or not. If his ego and attitude allows him to, he could go on and be as good as he wants to be. But yeah, I think we're in a similar position to Liverpool a few years ago. Now, I'm going to go back to what I said about Arsenal fans and snobbery. Now, Liverpool went and signed players from Hull who just got relegated. Sunderland, Southampton, and Newcastle. They built with experience, not necessarily world-class players as individual, but they identified the right, because what they were trying to do was build. Now, we've got a foundation we can build from with these youngsters, and now it's about putting the pieces together and building it up right. Now, if you go and look at people like Basuma, he's at a right age, 25. He fits the bill. I'm not interested whether a player costs 100 million or $1 million. I'm not interested whether they're big or small, this or that, whatever. It's all about whether they're the right players and the right fit for Arsenal Football Club, and can they take this football club forward. Now, there's certain players I would spend money on. I think like the right back, Max Aarons. I think he's got the ingredients to succeed. 30 million. Go and give him the 30 million. And this is where I said, if we can be shrewd with certain people, like the goalkeeper situation, if Leno does want to go, then it allows you to spend on a fullback. Right, I only want to spend 20 million on a fullback, but I've saved some money on the goalkeeper. I've sold Leno, so I can afford to go a little bit more. And it's just about identifying the right players for the right positions and the right fit. I'm sick and tired of this football club, square pegs in round holes. It's been like that for far too long. Now, in all fairness to Arteta and Edu, for all the stick and the criticism they've got, a couple of things that they have done is they've tied down our youngsters to long-term contracts. So if we do have to sell our valuable assets, they can go for maximum value, something we've not had for a long, long time. And two, if you look at the signings in Cedric, Mari, Gabriel, those type of players, obviously Tierney was the year before, but the signings have got better in recent seasons. But now it's just piecing all the jigsaw together and making sure the coach gets everything right. Because it's all well and good having the ingredients, but if the manager doesn't put them in the right order, we're not going to move forward either way. So this is where I've said there's more than one issue for me in how to take this club forward. We have to get it right this summer from the top to the bottom. Otherwise, we are going to be left behind.
A quick question or a yes or no answer before we go on to some questions, because there's some questions in the chat there that I want to ask you. Lee, Arteta next season, after everything we've spoken about, players coming in, players going out, putting round pegs in round holes, if that all happens, are you happy for Arteta to have another go at it? Or do you want another experienced coach, manager, coach, whatever you want to call them?
No. Out. Had his chance. Go.
He said Tony? One word, please. One word, he said.
Right. No.
Tony? Do you trust him? If the Cronkies came, if we woke up in the morning, if we woke up in the morning and the yellow bar along the thing is saying Stan Kroenke's given Mikel Arteta £300 million for an Arsenal rebuild, do you trust him to spend the £300 million?
With what I've seen in the last couple of weeks, no, unfortunately.
I'm the same.
I'm proven wrong, but
yeah,
just some of the selections and tactics makes it have to be no as we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everyone who watched this podcast this season, Lee knows, Dan, Harry, I've backed Mikel Arteta to the highest possible way I could. But after Thursday, as soon as that final whistle went, I was Arteta out, because it's just not good enough. It wasn't good enough. People can go back on the season. If he'd have won the Europa League and we're back in the Champions League, you could kind of forgive him a little bit for the poor season, because the
100%.
The Holy Grail had been achieved, getting us back into the Champions League. So
that was our target at the start of the season.
Exactly, yeah. So if a manager gets you back in the Champions League and he's had a poor league run, then perhaps you have to sit back and go, okay. But then I asked myself the question, do I want Mikel Arteta managing us in the Champions League? after what we've seen this year. You know, that was another thing for me, and I'm not quite sure I would want to see him managing us in the Champions League. To be honest,
I'd love to sit down with him, Craig, and just speak to him, because I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to replicate Man City. Unfortunately, he hasn't got the same ingredients as what Man City has got. So trying to be too clever, you need to go, do you know what? I'm going to get the best out of what I've got. I'm going to let the handbrake off. A bit like we did Slavia Prague. He allowed those players to let the handbrake off. And I think that he needs to... I think he's beating himself up a lot of the time. He's overthinking things. And more than not, he's defeating himself.
Yeah.
You know, he just needs to, like I say, let the handbrake off, use what we've got and try and play to the best of our ability. We know we haven't got world-class players. We know we haven't got elite players. And we know we haven't got the greatest of squads. But use what we've got and use our best attributes. And if it means us winning 4-3 and all that for this season, so be it. Or if it means us losing but playing it, you know, with a certain identity, fine. Exactly. But like I said, I just think he's overdoing it. He's being too cautious. At times, he's just uninspiring. And I really hate to say that, because I like the man a lot and I've backed him from the start. So it does pain me to say that.
I mean, even interviews are winding me up now. It's the same thing every week. He says the same thing every week, just in a different way. And you look, he's shouting at the telly at him, like, you know, it's just, what is it that we can see that he can't? All the fans can see what he needs to do. Like Lee said, put Saka in at left back, bring Xhaka back into the middle. Why? Oh, I don't know. We could sit here for hours, you know, dissecting the whole season about what he's done and this, that, and the other. Let's get on to some questions here. This is a good one. Abdallah, I hope I've said that right. Thanks for your question, mate. Thanks for watching. Question for the panel. Would you take Chelsea winning the Champions League if it meant Arsenal got top 4 next season?
No.
Judges is having a think.
No.
I'm the same, yeah. I couldn't have them winning that. Oh, still not hearing the last of it.
I was going to say, not twice. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Not exactly. This one comes in from Pids' question. Do you think Leno, unfortunately, is one of these that likes to blame others for his mistakes? Oh, good question. Do you know what I don't like about him? I don't like
other people.
I don't think he blames other people, but it's like that goal, the goal we conceded against Everton. The ball went through his legs and went in the goal, and the first thing he done was turn around to his defence and put his hands up in the air as if to say, why did you let him through? I mean, that's schoolboy. That I can tell. I keep going back to it as a goalkeeper. I was coached at the age of 7 years old that you never ever, you know, leave a gap in between your legs. You know,
I mean, in some regards, he was right, because he shouldn't have got through in that position.
True.
And even though it takes a slight deflection, you know, if Everton go and score from the top corner, stick it in the roof of the net, then he's got the right to blame the defence. But it was a culmination of mistakes, and then for him just to let the ball go through. Oh, yes, it took a deflection, but it was a minute deflection. For a goalkeeper of his standard and ability, he should not be going for his legs there. No. You know, like I say, if it goes top corner or bottom corner, yeah, you go fair enough, but it's not. He's another one, again, I alluded to earlier in the podcast, mate, but he talks a good game. Sometimes he just needs to keep his mouth shut and let his sort of feet, hands do the talking. You know, last week he's talking a good game and then he goes out and makes a mistake. So, yeah, I think he's part of the problem.
Yeah, I think he's a good goalkeeper. I think he's saved our asses more than he's cost him. To be honest, I think people are a bit. I think people are a bit quick to jump on him. Like I said, it's a lonely position on the pitch when you make a mistake. I tell you, because everyone's looking at you. If you make a mistake on the pitch as a player, you can run around and try and get out of the firing line. But you know, when you're a goalkeeper and everyone's, you know, it's a very, very lonely position.
It's just in regards to that position at the moment. You know, do you not think the goalkeeper situation, not just at Arsenal but across the world, how many elite keepers would you say there are at the moment? Because Alisson's regarded as one of the best keepers in the world. He's made so many mistakes. Yeah. Edison's probably the keeper, and maybe Neuer. You know, they're probably two of the keepers who have made least mistakes. And Oblak.
Yeah,
Oblak. Made the less. You know, but so many keepers this year You know,
the
and
guy has dropped his standards.
Someone brought up about the ball, and I'm thinking, well, in some of the instances, yes, you can blame the ball because it swerves and all that. But when keepers are making the mistakes with the ball at the feet, do you think they've overcomplicated that position? Because at the end of the goal, you're a goalkeeper that's just got to save the ball.
I mean,
why more than football?
It's the game, I think. I think it's a great point, Tony, but I think it's the game. It's the way the game has been revolutionised about this playing out from the back business. I mean,
I've just never seen keepers make so many mistakes in my 33 years in my life. I've just never seen it.
I'd rather have my goalkeeper save, come out for crosses, punch when he went to, than be a fantastic kicker or passer.
Exactly. Commanding is what you want. Yeah. And I'll tell you what,
I'd rather do
Ryan. I think it was Matt Ryan away at Newcastle. What a superb game he had. What a superb game. A couple of those catches he took. Well, I mean, you know, if like Tony says, if Noah does that, Oblak does that, or something, you know, everyone's going, "Oh, what a catch! What a great goalkeeper!" You know. Yeah. I think, and another thing about Matt Ryan is he was speaking in the defenders' languages to him. That was reported. Do you know that he was talking Spanish to one player and he was speaking another language to the other player? I mean, that's what you want out of a goalkeeper. The defence need to know that goalkeeper has got their back. As much as the goalkeeper wants to know that his defender know what they're doing, you know. Let's bring this one in. This one's from Alex. Thank you, Alex, for your question. Thanks for the support. Let's look at this from another angle. KSE keeps saying managers are going to be backed, but how are they being backed when we're signing on deadline day? Nice question, and a good question and a good point. Why is it that we always do our best business on transfer deadline day? Why don't just go and get it done?
But does that also come down to the inexperience at those levels? You know, we've got an owner that doesn't really care, and the people below him are fairly inexperienced. You know, that's where we need someone who's more knowledgeable, more experienced, maybe at board level, just to help direct and steer the ship. You know, Edu again's coming to this pretty much his first job. Okay, he's done a bit with his national team, but it was his first time. You know, Arteta, they're inexperienced guys. And although they've got their faults and flaws, ultimately the owner's got to start taking ownership of the club.
Here comes another question. Lee, this one's from Patrick. Do you think Basuma will go to Arsenal? Now, like, I'm worried now, Lee, about being out of Europe because when you hear, I hear that someone else is coming in for him. I think it was, did I hear Liverpool or Man United coming in for this fella? That's a no-brainer for him. You know, if you're a professional footballer and you've got Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United looking for you, Arsenal's straight out of the equation.
Well, not necessarily, because you've got to look at it long term.
We've had this argument before, I know.
So I wouldn't say that it's out of the question. But what I'm saying is that it's going to be a lot tougher with us, not with the way we are now. Let's be truthful about it. You know, he's an Arsenal fan apparently, like, you know, and we just have to wait and see. But Brighton to Arsenal, you know, you're going to take that all day long. But as you say, if another club comes through. Also, like, if you're going to go to Arsenal, you're going to guarantee, you know, like, if you're going to sign, you're going to be playing all the time. If say, for instance, he's going to go to another club, say Liverpool, maybe whoever, like those sort of teams, he's not going to play week in, week out. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I think every transfer we make is going to be a little bit tougher because of the predicament we're in. 100%. But I'll tell you this now: if I was Basuma, I wouldn't come to Arsenal. Because I wouldn't want to play under Arteta. Simple as that. Because I think he stifles. He wouldn't let you play. Doesn't sort of like over analyzes things. You know, you're not allowed to express yourself. So for me, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't play.
Surely, if Arteta's bringing him in, he's going to play him. Surely. Yeah,
but like, you know, you might get 4 games and get dropped, might you? Play 4 games, get dropped again.
Well, from what we've seen, no. Because Willian can do what he wants and he don't get dropped, does he?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? As I say, like, you know, I'll be very, you know, as much as I love Arsenal, even, you know, if I was him now at this moment in time, and I'm an Arsenal fan, you know, like, there's half of you saying, yeah, you've got to go and play for Arsenal, but the other half saying, well, hold on a minute.
But that would come down to this discussions with the manager and the club itself. Because if Arsenal turn around and say, look, we're going to splash 250 million this year and we're determined to get back in the Champions League, and he sees directions, he sees, progression from what Arsenal are this season to what they were a few seasons ago, he'll go, first team football at Arsenal. Yeah, I'll have some of that. So again, it depends on what the plans are, the direction that the club wants to go in. It's not just look, if we're going head to head with Man City, we've got to go, well, look, you're going to get minutes compared to you're going to be a squad player at City. So yeah, that would come down to discussion. But we're still the Arsenal. We're still a huge name in world football.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. But
obviously, if we have a second season out of Europe, all of a sudden that starts dwindling. And this is where we've got to be careful. We've got to be shrewd in the transfer market. People like Bissouma should be getting tapped up now. People like Bissouma should be getting signed as soon as the transfer market window reopens. And that's where we've got to get in and get our business done early, because we haven't got European football on our side this year.
Exactly. I mean, Charlie says, look, brings me brilliantly. Leicester are already moving in the transfer market. We need to be doing this, but we move like a small club. Absolutely. Great point, Charlie. Thanks very much indeed, mate. A couple more then. Luke says, question, do you think the be excited quote was them thinking we'll love the idea of the European Super League? Oh, brilliant. Them thinking that we'd love the idea of the European Super League. That's why it's been in the works for 3 years. And that was around the same time he said be excited. Bloody good point, that, Lee.
Yeah,
great point.
Great point. Well, it could well be that, because there's nothing to excite us anything else along the way, is there? So we'll have to wait and see. I've not been excited about Arsenal. Do you know what? I haven't gone into a season for a very, very long while on the back of a transfer window thinking, oh, yeah, I'm excited about the prospects of Arsenal Football Club. I wasn't that over keen about it last season, the season before. So, we'll have to wait and see. And if they don't make any signings, that we'll be here this time next season. Just put this on a replay.
Oh yeah, exactly. We could upload all the podcasts. What about you, Tony? What do you reckon about that? This is be excited thing. I mean, because like Lee said earlier,
sorry, mate, go on.
No, it's like Lee said earlier. What to be excited about? What? It's a good point about the European Super League.
Yeah, I think the gentleman just then, I think it's a great point. And it sort of coincides with, like you say, the time frame. This has been in the works for a long time. I think the 6 or 7 owners in England, I think they've all been in on it. I think, like I say, that it's been in works for a long time. But at the moment, there's nothing to be excited about the current Arsenal. But what I will say, for all the doom and gloom, this can be rectified in the summer. Not just about obviously moving the club forward. It all comes down to the transfer market, the budget, and how shrewd we are. And then it's up to whether they're going to back or sack Arteta, which is a decision. I think they're going to back him. But yeah, it comes back down to the transfer market. We could be excited. The whole ethos and the outlook of Arsenal Football Club can change again come the summer. But it's not up to us. It's up to the people in charge. And I just worry whether they're experienced enough to get us excited again.
Lee, is it all doom and gloom for next season? Is it?
Yeah, you don't know, do you?
Yeah, well, yeah. This is what I mean. Like we've seen. I keep going back to. You mentioned the Chelsea thing. They were out of Europe, but they had to go and spend a lot of money to get back into Europe. We saw Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp. Took him 2 or 3 years. But see, the difference with the Jurgen Klopp that worries me is that after 2 years, you could see what it was that Klopp was doing. Whereas Arteta, we still can't see what the progression is, what it is he wants to do. Aston Villa last season stayed up by the skin of their teeth. Now they're having a better season. Is it all doom and gloom? I know we can't look to the future. We can't predict the future. But is this? Do you know when something needs to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
For it to get good again.
The manager's turned around and said that there's going to be loads of changes in the summer and it's going to be good. So that's what's going to have to happen. Now, I'm not going to get excited until I see it, and it is a wait and see situation. because they're just going to go out and buy a load of players doesn't necessarily mean those players, no guarantee those players are going to be successful. So you're just going to have to see how it goes. And come the first game of the season, I'm not going to be excited. What will get me change my mind is if the players come in and they look like they're going to be a side, we start winning some games of football. But ultimately, this season, we can't win 5 games on the spin. We've not done it all season. So until they start doing that, that's it. We've got a manager that can't consistently get it right because he can consistently keeps changing the team, chopping and change it. So we need to get a back four that we're going to be settled with and a goalkeeper. And then we go from there. Listen, I go back to the bad times at Arsenal under George Graham when he first took over. You could see it in 87 when they won the League Cup. You could see they got to a 20-game unbeaten run. They looked like there was promise with youngsters and whatever. I look a little bit like that of Arsenal now. This is what we need. When Arsene Wenger came in within the first year, I thought we could go and do things and we was excited. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't feel like at this moment in time I can get excited about Arsenal. 1, because of the owners, and 2, because of the manager.
Tony, what I'll finish on you, mate. What about you? I'll flip it to you then. What, we don't make any signings, or we make mediocre signings. Arteta is still the manager at the start of the season. What then? How are you going to feel then? What's going to happen?
Pretty much how I felt on Thursday, mate. Deflated. And like I said to you, to when you look at a number of players we've got, the future could potentially be really, really bright. But as I keep saying, as I keep alluding to, this transfer market is huge. You could go and sign the world's best 15 players. Doesn't mean they're going to improve Arsenal. Yeah. Because if they don't click and they don't gel, individual players win you games, squads win you trophies. Okay. Now, this is why we've got to identify players in early. We've got to sign them early, and we've got a few pieces of the jigsaw in place, but we need to put the rest in place, and we need to make sure we identify these players. And this is why I say this transfer market is huge, because we have to identifying the players probably 6 months ago. We don't need a right back who could play 6 positions. We need to identify the positions. We need these stopgaps as well. Stopgap signings are no good. Get in early, get it done, identify the players, and build your squad. And potentially the future could look good, because, like I say, when you look at Saliba and potentially Guendouzi, Saka, Smith Rowe, Willock, it does look good. And we have got a lot of young talent. But we need to make sure that we've got experienced players with pace and power in and around them to protect them, because as good as those young players are, they're going to be inexperienced. They're not physically strong enough to cope, going to, up north on a Wednesday night when they're being kicked the shit out. So you need a squad. And as good as the Invincibles was, the double winning side and that, you had players like the Keowns and the Parlers who could come in and do a job, who could mix it up. It's not just about playing great football, it's about mixing it up as well. And unfortunately, at the moment, our squad's we haven't got enough in our squad to mix it up. We either play one way or we lose.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it? But I suppose the one thing that we can all safely say, all of us Arsenal fans, everyone that's watching, we'll be there again. We'll be there at the start of the season again, ready for, another depressing 12 months or good times. I don't know. That brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, everyone, for staying with us. Over 500 of you watching us live this evening. Thank you very, very much indeed for the support. Absolutely massive. Like I said, you keep coming, we'll keep doing it. There was a couple of people in the chat this evening asking why there was no super chats. There is a video. If you look at the channel update video, that will explain why there's no super chats. But if you do want to make a donation to the podcast, you can via the link which is in the description. Just click that link and it will take you to our coffee page, and you can leave. I think the minimum donation there is £3. So if you've enjoyed the podcast this week or last week or the week before, you can make a donation to us. Thank you very, very, very much indeed. Tony, thank you very much for your time this evening. It's been great to have you on. Great to get another fan's perspective of what's been going on. So thank you very much, mate.
Mate, thanks for having us. I've enjoyed the chat. Shame it weren't on better circumstances and we wasn't celebrating a few more wins higher up the league and that. But yeah, I really enjoyed tonight. Thanks for having me, mate.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome. Judges, as always, thank you very much. I know you're a sought after man, and you never let me down every Monday night. Well, you let me down last Monday night, but because you went out for a jolly up, didn't you?
Yeah, always. Yeah, it was a bank holiday Monday. I have a day off on the bank holiday Mondays.
A day off. Very nice indeed. But thank you for your time, mate.
In your pocket then, mate.
Yeah, so look, we'll be back tomorrow with a Total Screamers podcast. Me, Dan, Jake, and Simo will be back. We'll be talking about the Premier League just gone. A very important show on Wednesday night is happening. I have Lee from Walk and Talk for men's mental health. He's coming back on the show on Wednesday, and we're going to be promoting his walks that he's doing. There's some new walks coming up that involve Arsenal. And so we'll be talking about that and trying to get as many people to go to that as possible to support that great cause. And of course, if anyone's watching this evening who's not feeling great or he's in a bit of a rut, come back to us on Wednesday and we can chat about it and hopefully make you feel a bit better about yourselves. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Thursday, no 4 Men in the Mic on Thursday because it's my wife's birthday. And then on Friday, I'm not too sure what Dan's doing on Friday. Actually, I have to have a chat with Dan. Dan's been away, so I haven't spoken to him all weekend. So I'll have a chat with Dan, and we'll see what we go. Thank you very much for watching. Until we see you again, take care of yourselves and each other, and up the Arsenal.